Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're officially kicking off October with a nostalgic deep dive into a show that defined Halloween for so many of us as kids. Are you afraid of the dark? With Halloween just around the corner, we'll be comparing the original Are You Afraid of the Dark series from the 90s with its 2019 reboot. Both versions have their strengths, but today I'll be sharing why I think the original edges out the newer one, especially when it comes to that classic anthology format. So let's dive into this spooky comparison, and don't forget, this is just the beginning of our Halloween lineup. Plenty more nostalgic and horror-themed videos are coming your way throughout the month. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the eerie fun. The original Are You Afraid of the Dark? 1990 to 1996, 1999 to 2000. Let's start with the show that sparked it all. The original Are You Afraid of the Dark? Premiered in 1990 and ran for 5 spooky seasons until 1996. Then, much to fans' delight, it came back for a brief revival from 1999 to 2000, adding another 2 seasons to the mix. Created by DJ McHale and Ned Candell, the show quickly became a fan favorite, especially as part of Nickelodeon's Snick lineup. If you were a 90s kid, you'll remember just how big a deal Snick was. Every Saturday night we'd gather in front of the TV for a night of entertainment. And while shows like Clarissa Explains It All That, and Kenan and Kel were fun, it was Are You Afraid of the Dark? That really set the tone for those who loved a good scare. The original series was known for its anthology format, where each episode featured a completely new and independent spooky story. This structure worked wonders for the show. It allowed the writers to explore all kinds of horror, from supernatural to psychological to just plain creepy, without being tied down to an overarching plot. And let me tell you, that was a genius move. Each episode felt fresh, you never knew what to expect, and the scares came in all shapes and sizes, keeping us on our toes. Why the anthology format worked so well. One of the reasons I believe the original series was so effective is because the anthology format allowed each episode to stand alone. This meant that each story was a self-contained mini-horror film, where the stakes were clear and the resolution came by the end of the episode. You didn't have to invest in long, drawn-out storylines. You got your scares in bite-sized, perfectly paced chunks. It's like a sampler platter of childhood nightmares, giving you a taste of everything the horror genre has to offer without getting bogged down in an overarching plot that could slow things down. The structure also gave the creators the freedom to tap into a wide variety of horror themes. One week you get a story about a haunted dollhouse. The next week it'd be a cursed painting, and then maybe a ghost or a creature from the depths of the sea. This variety kept the series engaging and fun, especially for young viewers who were just starting to explore the genre. And while not every episode was a home run, when the show was on, it really delivered. There are so many iconic episodes from the original Are You Afraid of the Dark? That it's hard to narrow it down, but I'll share a few that have stood the test of time and still give me chills whenever I think about them. The Tale of the Midnight Madness. This episode is probably one of the most universally beloved in the series. It's about a struggling old movie theater that screens a vintage vampire movie, only for the vampire to step off the screen and into the real world. The vampire's chilling presence in the eerie old movie theater setting made this episode a classic. For many fans, this one ranks high on the scare-o-meter. In The Tale of the Lonely Ghost, Amanda is dared to spend time in a haunted house by her cousin Beth. Inside, she finds a mirror with "Help Me" written on it and encounters the ghost of a lonely young girl. Amanda soon learns the tragic story of the girl's abandonment and untimely death, making this one of the more haunting and emotional episodes of the series. The Tale of the Dead Man's Float. This episode is often cited as one of the scariest of the series, and for good reason. A haunted swimming pool becomes the home of a decaying, waterlogged ghost that terrorizes swimmers. The design of the ghost in this episode is genuinely terrifying, even by today's standards. And it's the kind of monster that sticks with you long after the episode ends. The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner. Now this one, about a comic book villain coming to life, leans into more surreal and grotesque horror. The villain's wide, toothy grin is nightmare fuel, and the episode's mix of comic book style and real-world horror made it a fan favorite. These episodes, and many others, are the reason why Are You Afraid of the Dark became a cornerstone of kids' TV in the 90s. It wasn't just about the scares. It was about the stories, the characters, and the creativity that went into every single episode. Production and atmosphere. 90s horror charm. One of the most charming things about the original show is the production style. Yes, by today's standards, the special effects are dated, but that low-budget practical effects approach only added to the charm. There's something about the gritty, shadowy sets and simple but effective creature designs that gave the show an eerie, almost timeless quality. It didn't rely on CGI or overly complicated visuals to get its scares across. Instead, it leaned into practical effects, shadowy lighting, and atmospheric tension. Let's not forget about the unforgettable intro sequence. The match being lit, the swing set moving by itself, the creepy doll in the attic, the abandoned rowboat, combined with that haunting theme song. It's the kind of intro that immediately set the mood. Even today, hearing the theme song brings back all the feelings of excitement and anticipation that we felt as kids, knowing we were in for a spooky ride. The 2019 Are You Afraid of the Dark reboot. Now let's talk about the 2019 reboot, which brought Are You Afraid of the Dark back to life for a new generation. The reboot kicked off with Carnival of Doom and ran for 3 seasons, each with a different spooky storyline. Unlike the original series, the reboot took a serialized approach, with each season functioning more like a miniseries focused on a single overarching plot. Season 1, Carnival of Doom, 2019. The first season of the reboot, Carnival of Doom, was definitely the strongest, in my opinion. It follows the Midnight Society as they get wrapped up in the real-life version of one of their campfire stories, a traveling carnival run by the sinister Mr. Top Hat. The carnival setting was a perfect backdrop for an Are You Afraid of the Dark story, bringing a creepy, haunted carnival vibe that felt nostalgic yet fresh. One of the things I enjoyed about Carnival of Doom was that it didn't shy away from the darker elements of horror, while still keeping things family-friendly. Mr. Top Hat was a memorable villain with an unsettling charisma, and the carnival atmosphere lent itself to some genuinely eerie moments. That said, the serialized nature of the season did make it feel like it dragged in spots. The suspense was there, but it didn't have the punchiness of the original, where you got a new story every episode. Instead, it built slowly over 3 episodes, which worked for the carnival setting but also felt like a slower burn. Season 2, Curse of the Shadows, 2021. The second season, Curse of the Shadows, took on a new Midnight Society and shifted the focus to a coastal town plagued by a mysterious, shadowy entity. While I liked the concept, I felt like the pacing issues were more noticeable here. The slow build that worked in Carnival of Doom didn't quite have the same effect in Curse of the Shadows. The new cast did a decent job, and there were definitely creepy moments, but the story felt stretched too thin at times. Season 3, Ghost Island, 2022. By the time we got to Ghost Island, the 3rd season of the reboot, I found that the series was starting to lose some of its edge. The idea of the Midnight Society traveling to a haunted island resort had potential, but the execution felt repetitive. The setting was interesting, and there were some good moments of tension, but overall, it didn't capture the same magic as the first season. The serialized format again dragged in certain areas, and it felt like the story could have been told more effectively in a shorter time frame. Comparing the two, anthology versus serialized storytelling. So how does the reboot compare to the original? For me, the original series still comes out on top, and I think a big part of that is due to the format. The anthology structure of the 90s version just worked better for this kind of show. Each episode was a new story, a new scare, and you never knew what you were going to get. That unpredictability was part of what made it so fun. The reboot, on the other hand, went for a serialized approach, telling one story over the course of a season. While this allowed for more character development and deeper storylines, I feel like it lost some of that spontaneous bite-sized terror that the original delivered so well. There's a certain magic to getting a complete self-contained horror story in under 30 minutes, and I think that's where the original Are You Afraid of the Dark really excelled. Don't get me wrong, the reboot had its moments. Carnival of Doom was a solid entry, and I enjoyed how it paid homage to the original series while bringing something new to the table. But overall, I think the anthology format of the original gave it more variety, more scares, and ultimately, more staying power. Final thoughts. In the end, while the 2019 reboot had its strengths, especially in its first season, the original Are You Afraid of the Dark remains the superior version for me. The anthology format allowed for more creativity and variety in the types of horror stories it could tell, and the show's practical effects and atmospheric production gave it a timeless quality. It's the kind of show that, even decades later, still holds up as a great introduction to the horror genre for young audiences. As we get closer to Halloween, I'll be diving into even more nostalgic TV shows and movies that shaped our childhoods and gave us all those deliciously creepy vibes we still love today. Thanks for sticking around for this comparison of Are You Afraid of the Dark, both the classic 90s version and its 2019 reboot. It's always fun to dive into shows that brought us chills as kids and see how they've evolved for a new generation. But as much as I appreciate the reboot for trying something different, the original will always have a special place in my heart for how it introduced so many of us to horror. Like I mentioned earlier, this video is just the start of our Halloween content. All month long, I'll be revisiting spooky shows, horror movies, and Halloween specials from the past that defined the season for me growing up. We've got some fun, nostalgic deep dives ahead, so stay tuned. If you're a fan of classic shows like this, or you just love reliving those eerie October nights, you won't want to miss what's coming up next. And hey, before you go, let me know in the comments. What's your favorite Are You Afraid of the Dark episode? Did the reboot do it for you, or are you all about that 90s anthology goodness like me? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and keep the nostalgia alive. Happy Halloween season!